محمد وآل محمد صلوات. سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعدي حقه المجتهدون. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. الصلاة والسلام على الرسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وبآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. This verse is from Surah Al-Ahzab, number 21. Once again, I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent and the Merciful, the one who gives us the existence, the one who brings us into existence from nothing, and the one who gives us the strength and the intellect and takes us to our destination. On that note, I humbly say, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The general demeanor of my discussion tonight or this evening will be pertaining to in trying to understand and assimilate some lessons from the life of this great personality that we have gathered here to celebrate his birthday, Imam Hassan Mujtaba, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. So if we discuss any members of the Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet himself, or any members of the Ahlul Bayt, what we need to do is that the new generation that is walking in as I speak, my brothers and sisters, needs to be told and needs to be convinced that the religion of Islam that we belong to has a value and the impact of great importance in our lives. Therefore, when we discuss our faith, when we discuss religion, when we try to elucidate on the lives and contributions of our Prophet or the Imams after him, or even Bibi Fatima salamullahi alayha, the applicability of their lives is there in our lives as well. We need to take lessons from them, teachings and behavior of them which is impeccable. And when we discuss into these milad or wafat, we need to apply, or we need to at least express those type of teaching that can be adopted in the Western world by our especially youth and our children this 21st century. Now as I began with the verse from the Holy Quran where Allah says, statement from Surah Al-Ahzab, number 21, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. You know, qad, when it says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ, qad in Arabic means a decree, a certainty, most certainly. Most certainly in the Messenger of Allah is an excellent and exemplary role model for those who have hope in Allah and the day of judgment, and who remember or do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. So here the injunction is that we have to take the Prophet as our role model. And in a wider sense, the Prophet and of course the Ahlul Bayt, are the best role models that can be adopted in our lives. Like, now, if I wish to follow and imitate as per Quran, and that is the personality of the Holy Prophet, and furthermore, after the Prophet, following in line in his footsteps will be, of course, Imam Ali and Imam Hassan and Kadhalik and the other Imams, so forth. So sometimes, in spite of this clear injunction, we see our Muslim young boys and girls getting carried away. The hero worship, for example, those entities or those personalities on earth who will have no impact. Now I'm talking about impact. And impact is, when we think of impact of ourselves, we think in the longer term, which is akhirah. So though sometimes our Muslim youth, boys and girls, they get carried away in literally worshipping those personalities who will have no impact on their lives here on the earth, or more importantly in the hereafter. You see, sometimes the boys go after the sports personalities. I don't know much about sports, but if you see the basketball, people talk about Shaquille O'Neal, or sometimes they talk about Kobe Bryant, or the Super Bowl star Tom Brady or Tom Brady, someone. And I have heard Muslim boys and girls who work with me at the airport calling, I was amused, that hockey player, the famous hockey player, Connor McDavid, he's God. This is how they portray him, that Connor McDavid is God. When we talk at the airport sometimes, and I talk with Muslim boys and girls, and this is how they talk about the sports personality. So these are not the role models. According to Quran, these are not the role models. They will have no impact on our lives, and they will have no impact on our akhirah. Yet on the flip side, if I were to ask someone from the children from the audience here, brothers and sisters, that who was, for example, physically responsible for the death and martyrdom of Imam Hassan, and our boys and girls may be lost. Who was physically responsible? For example, who was the mother of Imam Jafar Sadiq? And I don't think our boys and girls will be able to answer that question. Even adults, sometimes they fail. And if we talk to the madrasa students, or sometimes we talk about, hey, who's Imam Hassan's father? Who's Imam Hassan? Very simple. And they come up with a reply, that we will discuss it in the madrasa. We will discuss that in the Sunday school, in the madrasa. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. No offense meant, but this is the impasse. This is the sort of impasse that we come along into the lives of, and I will tell you why, into the lives of our children, especially here in the Western world. Now, why does this impasse come into existence where our akhirah is concerned? Eventually, we are living for our akhirah and our afterlife is concerned. Why? Because the speakers from this mimbar have not been able to explain to them or convey to them the simplest form of Islamic fundamentals as required, what is required in their own language, and they have been unable to understand their mentality. It's a failure on our part, or a failure on the mullah's part, who is on the mimbar, for example. He fails to elucidate or interest these boys and girls or communicate with them in the language of their choice. Why? Because 9 out of 10 times, believe me, 9 out of 10 times, the person on the mimbar is not qualified enough to speak or communicate with them. Or he is so boring that the boys and girls, they lose touch. They lose interest, and they do not understand their mentality. Most of our speakers, they do not understand their mentality. On the contrary, you know what has happened? On the contrary, the media has communicated with these young people, our Muslim boys and girls. They have communicated, they have spoken to them or him or her in the language and understood their mentality and spoken to them in that language that they understand. And the result is that the media, it can be a sports channel, it can be NBC or CNN or whatever. This media has successfully been able to communicate with them whatever they have wished to convey. And let us be very clear, my brothers and sisters, that the media is not interested in conveying the message of Christianity. They do not belong to any religious group. They have been unable to convey the message of Christianity. They will not convey the message. What we have not understood is that there is a marked difference between an Islamic civilization and other secular or non-secular civilizations. The media is not interested in converting our children to our generation into Christianity. They are not interested. The media is not interested in proselytizing our young people. They want you to understand only one issue and one thing, that you may not become a Christian. That is fine. But they will ensure that this particular Muslim young boy or a Muslim young girl does not remain a Muslim either. This is what it is all about. They will ensure that this Muslim young boy or girl will not, maybe if I go too far to say remain Muslim either, but as Ayatollah Khomeini used to call it, Maghrib Zada Muslim, they will be interpolated Muslims, brainwashed Muslims. This is what the media wants today in the Western society. And that is the whole movement and the idea that is prevailing now in the Western world, basically. Look at the stuff that is going around us. When a person fails from the mimbar to communicate with our young children, the upcoming generation, consequently fails in the field also where action is required, where sacrifices are required. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For example, a young man or a young girl, a young lady comes to this place of worship, to this hall, to this Imam Barga, to listen to the lecture or majalis, irrespective of the language that is used, comes to a program which is unfortunately sometimes monologue. And I speak and you hear. The mullah speaks and the public hears. While the urgent need at this point, at the present times, is in this society and has always been for a program based on dialogue, where there is an opportunity for someone to stand up and question that, but Mr. So-and-so, will you elucidate further? Or will you explain further? There has got to be, and there is an urgent need in this community of ours, and I'm not only talking about our community, I'm talking about Muslims in general. I'm not talking about Shia Ithna. The same problem is prevailing today in the whole of the Muslim society. That there is an urgent need in the Muslim community for a forum in which young people may or could communicate with the speaker and try to find out more answers to the ideas or those doubts that baffles them. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And contrary to the campus in a college or university, the friend circle, the schoolmates, the teacher, the media, who have and are still having a profound impact and profound role on the lives, on the thinking of younger Muslim generation. Therefore, the mind and the intellect tends to bend and magnetizes itself towards that influence that is communicating with them, with their mentality and with their language. Now, coming to the topic for tonight, the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us as believers is that He has blessed us with the teachings of akhlaq and behavior, and the behavior and character of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is undisputably the best in the mankind. It's the best for the mankind. When Allah Himself in the Quran tells the Prophet, Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. He is addressing the Prophet and he is telling him, certifying, Allah is certifying the character and the behavior of the Prophet. And he tells him, Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. Your character, O Muhammad, and your behavior, and your akhlaq, it's at the pinnacle, it's at the summit. That is the highest any living person can go. Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. And the historians have written that after the Prophet, immediately after the Prophet, the same traits and the same character was found in our second Imam, Imam Hassan Mujtaba ibn Ali alayhi afdalus salatu wassalam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, I am not going to talk in a philosophical sense. I am just going to take one incident in the life of Imam Hassan and try to analyze or dissect the whole incident and see how it is applicable in our life. There are so many other incidents and there is no time. A young man, this is a very, very famous incident, but sometimes we fail to communicate to the boys and girls that why Imam Hassan did this. How did he do this? What was in his mind when he did this? A young man from Syria. You know, Syria was under Muawiyah's rule, Bani Umayyah. And there was a constant bombardment against anti-Ahlul Bayt teachings in Syria. Children who grew up in Syria, they loved to hate Ahlul Bayt. This was the teaching in Muawiyah's land in Syria. The children from birth were brainwashed against Imam Ali and his progeny, the Prophet's progeny. This Syrian young man arrives into Medina, and apparently he had come to perform Umrah. You know, Muawiyah, he was so clever. He never used to encourage his own people to go for Umrah. Why? Because then they would find the truth. Because the propaganda that was going on in the Syrian land, it would negate everything in their mind. So he never used to encourage people to go to Makkah or Medina for Umrah. But this man comes. There were some people who knew the tenets of Islam. So he comes. And he is walking in the streets of Medina in the afternoon. And as he is walking with his ride from the opposite angle or from the opposite side, from direction, Imam Hassan and some friends and members of his family, they are also walking in the opposite direction. And when they saw this Shami, they knew that he is a stranger. So they exchanged greetings, Assalamu alaikum. And as is the usual protocol, what they did was, they introduced each other. And the moment he knew that this is Al-Hassan, the son of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, all that brainwashing that he had in his mind from the Syrian government, from the Syrian propaganda, came into play, and he started abusing and used profanity, profane language against Imam Hassan. He started not only abusing Imam Hassan, but the whole family of the Prophet, thinking that he is doing a good deed. Because why? Because he has been brainwashed in that sense. And Imam Hassan is right there, listening to him. And of course, his friends and his family members, they got agitated. But Imam Hassan signaled to them and he says, leave him alone. Leave him alone, let him speak. Till the man had finished. Till he had finished that fire that was burning in his heart against the Ahlul Bayt. After he had finished, now let us understand this, that this Syrian young man has grown up from his childhood in a draconian regime. I would call it a draconian regime. That was what Muawiyah was. And that regime has been consistently and constantly abusing and defiling Imam Ali and his children. So Imam left him be until he had cooled down, and then responded in a very kind and understanding way, very soft manner. And he says, brother, ayyuhal akh, he says, I believe you are a stranger here. They knew he was a stranger. You are a stranger here. Now see the way Imam approaches him. Look at the mentality. He says, if you are hungry, we will provide you with food. If you have run out of finances, money will be made available. Monetary assistance will be provided as much as you want. If you have no place to stay, you are most welcome to stay at my house with me, and it will be an honor for me, Imam Hassan tells him, after hearing all this abuse, for you to come and stay with me, and I will be your host today. You be my guest. And turning towards his family members, he told them that take him home. Take him home. And he was taken to Imam Hassan's house. And he was his guest of honor for about a week. We can say 5 days, 6 days, a week. And he was taken to Imam Hassan's place and treated as a 5-star guest. This man. All necessities were provided. After having experienced this kind of generosity and this kind of gesture, and he had interacted in Imam Hassan's own house with his family members and Imam Hassan, the way they portrayed themselves and who they were really, that they were the successor to the Prophet. They were the family of the Prophet. He could not contain himself, and he started crying when he was leaving. He started crying. He was begging for forgiveness. Now what had happened? You see, the tables have been turned. Now one man can do a lot. And when he was leaving, he started crying and he was begging for forgiveness from Imam Hassan. And he says, we have been brainwashed from a young age to abuse you, to hate you. But now that I have seen your character, what the family of the Prophet is, he says, Allah knows the best where to keep his risalat and his message. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, Imam Hassan, at that time when he was leaving, made a point to give him so much of monetary assistance. We don't know how much he gave him, but he gave him a very substantial amount. Now I will tell you why. When he was leaving, not that that person was in need of it, but Imam Hassan made a point that when he was leaving, he gave him that monetary assistance in a humongous amount. Now there is a fundamental teaching here that he imparted hundreds of years ago. Why? Because the most important and crucial conclusion to this teaching in Imam Hassan's life is related to our faith and religion, Islam. Because Islam, my brothers and sisters, is not a mere religion that you and I are born with. And is given to us on a platter, or we simply reenact it because we are born Muslims. When we are, you see, ghalat fahmi, as we say in Urdu. There is that misunderstanding that when we are born Muslims, that creates, if we are born into a Muslim household, it creates a problem for me. For if I were to be born in a Hindu house, I am certain that my faith in Hinduism would be equivalent to what I have today in Islam. Simple. I would not waver. The way my faith in Islam is, so is a person who is born in a Hindu household. My faith in a Jewish household would be same as of my faith in Islam. And in being a Hindu, I would be worshipping the deities with all the zeal and the valor. So today, the Prophet, as Muslims, we have faith in Islam the same way Hindus, they have faith in their own religion. Jews they've got their own faith, primarily in most cases, because it is a religion, or it was a religion that we came into or they came into. Now, the main issue or the major issue here is to come into the true fold of Islam from outside. When I am not a Muslim and I am attracted by I am attracted towards this religion maybe because of the character portrayed by the Muslims, because I have met Muslim people in a society, or I have read about it. The most difficult part of a human nature is to come into Islam from outside. And Imam Hassan, at that time, when he is leaving that Syrian man, he is giving him all this assistance. Why? Because now he has come to realize the truth. To come from outside onto the truth is a very difficult task, my brothers and sisters. Why? Because the whole world, the whole world collapses around you. Say, for example, it's a white Canadian is to convert a young person who's living with his family, were to convert to Islam today, what is going to happen in his house? That his whole social structure in the house and in his society is going to collapse. It's going to be destroyed. Why? Because now that he has researched and he has been attracted to Islam and he has reverted back, say converted, he has reverted back to Islam, his social structure, socio-political structure will collapse. He was eating pork, he will not eat. Drinking alcohol, he will refrain. He was going to the toilet with toilet paper, now this has been switched to water. There are so many things. I was playing with dogs, there will be no more dogs. Constantly, he will be advising his people that I am not going to do this, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do this, and there will be an abhorrence against him from his own family. There will be a hatred from him, from his own family. And the socio-political structure that he lives in is going to collapse totally. The family members that you live with, the relatives that you are interacting with, every one of them in the beginning will turn their faces away from you. This is what's going to happen when a person comes into Islam from outside. And now what will happen is that he has to build a structure for himself in order, a brand new structure, a new structure in the society to be accepted in a totally different world, in a different dimension. And this is entirely what Imam Hassan comprehended, that young Syrian man, having accepted the truth, having accepted Ahlul Bayt, having repented and getting his adverse teaching, in Swahili we call it kasumba. That kasumba that he had in his mind, that brainwashing is now gone. So Imam Hassan knew that when he goes back, he is going to be a totally different man. His socio-political structure is going to collapse in Muawiyah's regime, because now he is not going to accept that false propaganda against the family of the Prophet. When time comes, he is going to speak up. He is going to challenge the mullahs of Muawiyah in Syria. The whole socio-political structure, and Muawiyah being a draconian ruler, a ruthless ruler, Imam Hassan knew what's going to happen, because the stipends and the social welfare and the grants that he has been given by the government is all going to stop. And the whole socio-political structure is going to collapse because he has now accepted the truth and thrown out that garbage and the trash that was meted out by this draconian regime in Syria. Therefore, the message of Imam Hassan to us, why did he give them that humongous monetary assistance? He knew that tomorrow he is going to face all these difficulties. Maybe he'll need a new house. Maybe he'll need a totally new socio-political structure. And this money is going to come, these finances are going to come in handy for him to uplift himself. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So this is the message. It's only one incident. This is the message of Imam Hassan to us, as I understand. By this particular, if you dissect this incident, it is very much applicable today. Today also a person from outside comes into our community, accepts our faith. It is our duty to see that that person is comfortable. Because his own socio-political structure has been destroyed. Maybe he is being hated by his own parents, that person, or she, for example. It is for the Muslim community to come together and uplift him so that he doesn't feel that blankness in his heart. So that is the part of our akhlaq, and behavior should be to welcome the outsiders, my brothers and sisters, to welcome the outsiders who have found the truth and now they have been shunned by their own society, to make their lives easy when they join us, for example. They should feel that brotherhood and the openness in joining the Muslim society or in the Muslim community, and they should feel comfortable and welcome, and that is exactly what Imam Hassan taught 1400 years ago. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And this is the type of struggle that Imam Hassan waged. The jihad that Imam Hassan waged at that time was to change the mind of the Muslims who fell prey to the corrupt teaching and propaganda machinery of the Banu Umayyah at that time in Syria and elsewhere. It's going on today in Saudi Arabia. With their petrodollars, they are literally brainwashing the Muslims in the outside world. That we will build mosques for you. We will give you social assistance, provided you adopt our school of thought. You adopt our mentality. You see, the same thing is happening. This is the same draconian regime that we have in the Gulf area. The propaganda of Banu Umayyah has not ceased. It is spreading actually in the Western world. This propaganda has not ceased. So in the field, the action is required. Imam Hassan did not lecture, did not speak. He did not argue or debate. Only the portrayal of that sincerity of the teachings of his grandfather, the Prophet of Islam, converted one man from being an enemy of Ahlul Bayt to friends of Ahlul Bayt. Now, as we celebrate Imam Hassan's, to end, wiladat, or the birthday, in the household of the Prophet, he was born, of course, on the 15th of Ramadan in the second hijrah after the Prophet migrated from Mecca to Medina. And there was very much happiness in the house of the Prophet. The Prophet himself is carrying Imam Hassan. He recited adhan and iqama into the ears of the child. And Imam Ali and Bibi Fatima, of course, they requested the Prophet to name him. This Hassan, this name, was for the first time given to Imam Hassan. It was not there in the Arabian society. This name was like a hidden treasure. It was like a hidden treasure. And the Prophet said, yes, I am waiting for Jibreel to come, commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to name this child. And sure enough, Jibreel comes and tells the Prophet that as Allah has ordained that you keep the name of this child as Hassan al-Mujtaba. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أفضل الصلاة وعلى محمد وآل محمد.